Exactly.
Am I
So
on?
that way you,
I can hunt you when I want to.
that
Yeah.
way you get that money. You get that
All
money.
right. Let's call this meeting to order of the Clarksville Montgomery County Historic Zoning Commission and Common Design Review Board. We do have a quorum. Let's stand and say the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I hope you've had time to look at the minutes. We're looking for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, they're approved. All right. After each case is presented, we will ask anyone present if they would like to speak in favor of this case, and then ask if anyone would like to speak in opposition of this case. They will have 5 minutes each, with no more than 2 to speak. Mr. Clemens, you present our
Thank you.
first case.
Thank you. First, I'd like to welcome back to the Common Design Review Board and Historic Zoning Commission, Mr. Doug Jones. He is serving as our architect on the Historic Zoning Commission. First case is a historic case, so as a reminder with the new member as well, our Common Design Review Board members, if you would like to speak on that case, we just ask that you come down and do so as a member of the public, and you cannot vote on that case, only our historic members. So, with that being said, first case is HZ6 2023. It's the application of 116 Public Square LLC with the agent of Providence Builders. Reason for the request is to demolish the front, right, and rear walls of the existing structure due to structural concerns and construct a new building per attached plan for a property located at 116 Public Square. It is highlighted in blue on your screen. In pink on your screen is the Public Square Historic District. And not here today, Mr. David Smith, but as always, big thanks to him for his for the images that you'll see in today's presentation. He actually captured the whole Public Square Historic District in one photo here. And as we go down, we get into the building that's in question today. It's the building in right on your screen, and we zoom in on it. This structure is also in the Clarksville Architectural District, which is on the National Register of Historic Places. At the time it went into that district, it was seen as not significant, but also non-intrusive. Our 2020 survey describes this building and the neighboring building as 114 and 116 Public Square, built 1940 and 1945. At the time of the 1981 survey, the common name and the historic name was the Joe White Tin Shop. The altered building is 2 storefronts on the east facade, both 2-story but of different heights. The taller building has no fenestration. All original openings have been brick filled. The first floor storefront has painted lines suggesting display windows. This is the side of that building. So the front wall, the side wall, and the rear wall are the walls that will be taken down and rebuilt pretty much exactly as is. It has some metal siding on it now. And then the rear of the building as well. In walking around the building, the rear of the building has some structural issues. It's almost like the bricks were just hand placed in, no mortar. It's in pretty rough shape. And I will point out as well that this application did have staff approval to reopen the windows and the storefront and take the back wall down and scoot it back 2 foot. But I think, and I'll let them speak to it, the applicants and agents, I think the more they got into looking at the building, there was some serious structural concerns, so that's why it's before us today. This is just a historical photo found. It's from an appraisal card in the 70s when it was the Joe White Tin Shop. some information, interesting. It was bought by Mr. White in 1953 for $650, so. And these are, the renderings that were submitted. Again, it's going back, pretty much exactly like it is. The front facade is almost identical with the windows. It will be brick, old warehouse 77 brick will be used, the front and the rear. And then below grade, so below the street level, it will be split face CMU on the side. And what can be seen from street level will be a cement siding, I think a hardy board and batten will be used there. Our staff comments come from the Main Street guidelines. A previously existing building should be reconstructed only if it will be on its original site and can be accurately replicated based on documentation of its original design and detailing such as photographic evidence or original drawings. And again, those are from the Main Street guidelines, and I will answer any questions if there are any of the staff. Yes, sir.
Are they using the old brick? Or are they
Don't-
just getting new brick?
I don't think so. I think the front brick anyway, has so many layers of paint on it. I don't know that it could be, but I'll defer to the applicants.
And you said it was gonna be somewhat replicated. What is the somewhat part?
Well, it will have a back, on the rear. We'll have some balconies that are not currently there. They're adding a deck.
Okay.
As far as the front facade, it will be identical in shape, scale, to exactly what's there now. It's essentially just reopening the openings, using newer materials.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Would this be, when it's rebuilt, we know we had an accident down there near this building. And I wanna know, will it be under ADA compliance?
I would assume it would have to get proper permitting, but I'll defer to the architects and the contractor.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Is there anyone in favor of this case that wants to come forward? Please state your name and address.
I'm Bryce Powers, Providence Builders, 46 Union Street. Here representing Michael Miller, the owner, who his family's owned this property for quite some time. He did sell the other two pieces, but intends to rebuild this building to occupy it himself. As Mr. Clemens mentioned, this was permitted as a remodel with removal of the rear wall and a small portion of the right-hand wall. But as we got into peeling the layers of the onion back, there were some more significant damage in the front. The front's is a patchwork of different brick patterns, different brick textures anyway, plus the openings being closed up. So due to the structural concerns, we decided it would be worth evaluating demoing and rebuilding. The plan that we got approved administratively for the remodel is essentially the exact same plan that we're presenting for the reconstruction. So it will be virtually the same exact building, just built to modern standards and in a way that's going to be structurally sound. Mr. Clemens mentioned that the right side would be fiber cement siding. A real reason for that is to replace that metal siding that's there now, because Mr. Bill Powers, who's here as well, he owns the lot next to it. Someday he will want to build his building there, so we didn't want to brick that all the way up. Currently, the building is a 3 brick wide wall. Obviously, going back with modern construction, we're having brick facade, so didn't want Mr. Bill Powers to have to take that down and attach his building later. So that's the reason for the fiber cement. It can actually just stay there and he can build to it, and we should be fine. So happy to answer any questions. Mr. Miller is here, and John Comperry, the architect's here as well. Yes, sir.
So you're gonna use bricks that are pretty much similar to the older bricks and stuff? You know, I'm not a big fan of demolition by neglect, but I don't think that you're doing that at this point. It appears to me that you're trying to replicate and all that.
Absolutely. And your question to the using the existing brick, we don't think they're enough in good shape to reuse to actually, redo the facade.
Right.
So we found, I think it's Cherokee brick, provides a historic looking brick, and it's called Warehouse 77. He mentioned that in the approval. So it will have a historic texture and joint pattern, unlike modern brick. So it will try to appear older, and we're not going to paint it back. I know currently it's painted, so we want to not have a painted brick.
So the white part will stay brick color then?
I'm
The
sorry.
white part of the front of the building will stay in the color of brick, not be painted white?
Mhm.
Okay.
Madam Chairwoman, I got a question for Mr. Powers.
Okay.
He mostly answered it, I think, with fiber cement. That was gonna be my question about what are we doing to accommodate next door? So by putting up a party, for lack of a better word, that can easily come down and then buildings can match up on a zero lot line. Of course, whatever you do inside is gonna be a fire rated wall already, so
Correct.
that when Mr. Powers decides to build, he'll be able to match up with your building and build at a zero lot line.
Exactly.
That's what I heard?
Yes.
Okay.
And we even talked, Mr. Powers and I have not talked about this, but we could possibly even set our basement wall out enough to catch his floor system of his building too. That's just something he could direct us whether he wants us to do or not, that could further accommodate future construction.
Okay. Other questions from the board?
I just wonder about the use of it. Is it commercial on the bottom, residential on top? Is that what's going?
So Mr. Miller's gonna occupy the whole building. He's gonna have an apartment, as well as a home office on the main level and a garage underneath.
Okay,
So he'll occupy the whole building.
got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor? Thanks. No? All right, is there anyone opposed to it that would like to speak? Okay, there, no more questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. It passes. All right, Mr. Clemens?
Before we leave our historic portion of the meeting and go into the Common Design Review Board portion, we do have a zoning case this month in a probably lesser-known historic area of Montgomery County. It falls in the Port Royal Historic Overlay. It is Runamuck Outfitters, not trying to take it out of the H1 overlay, just rezoning from ag to ag commercial. The property is seen on your screen here. And the black dashed area is the Port Royal Historic Overlay. A little information about Port Royal. The town of Port Royal was established in 1797, 1 year after Tennessee statehood. The creation of a tobacco inspection point and flatboat yard led to the town's role as a regional tobacco town. What began as a small flatboat port eventually saw the construction of a silk mill, which was the only one in Tennessee, general stores, tailors' shops, inns, taverns, churches, and warehouses. In 1838, over 10,000 Cherokees slept in the state of Tennessee for the last time at Port Royal, and today that portion is part of the National Trail of Tears historic trail. Also, the Sulphur Fork Bridge falls in the Port Royal Historic Overlay, and that was recently brought to the board and gained approval for the National Register of Historic Places. And another interesting fact that we learned kind of when researching this was Port Royal was one vote away from becoming the state capital of Tennessee.
Yes.
Originally, so that's how things would be different now, if that would happen. But anyway, I know Mr. Spainhower's here to answer any questions. If the Historic Zoning Commission would like to send any comments along, and I'll answer any questions of the staff or Mr. Spainhower as well.
The area where they're talking about doing the outfitters is on the other side of the road from the Trail of Tears road bed.
Correct.
If I remember when I was on it before, we put that area in the historic,
Right.
because it was one of the last remaining original road beds still of the Trail of Tears. in
Right.
Tennessee.
Yep.
Okay.
If there's any recommendations or comments to pass along, the planning commission will hear this case tomorrow, and it will ultimately end up in the county commission's hands for final approval or disapproval, so.
Yeah, we can also tell you that the staff is recommending disapproval of this for a variety of factors, floodplain and other uses aside, so.
Are they wanting to build a structure in it, or is it just like a launch point for?
They were not very clear about that. They did send a letter, Runamuck Outfitters that is. They are currently using it for overflow parking, which the code department said they can continue doing under their current zoning, so we question the need for this zone. the staff's big concern is what ag commercial opens this up area for like campgrounds and festivals and things like that. And maybe starts turning that property into something that the residents in the area maybe don't want. So we'll have to hear more tomorrow when the applicant shows up.
But you don't have any definitive on what they're planning to do, why the reasoning for this zone change?
That's correct.
Okay.
Nothing hardened in writing. They just said for expansion of their business.
Oh, I got you.
Okay,
So it's really ag tag.
all right. Wanda, did you have
No,
something?
thank you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Clemens, the next case.
All right, we will now move into the Common Design Review Board portion of the meeting, so all members can ask questions and vote. First and only case is MSCD 40-2023. It's an application of Village Partners LLC with the agent of Christian Brothers Automotive. Reason for the request is the proposed Christian Brothers Automotive development includes a one-story light automotive repair building along with its associated driveways, parking, utilities, and stormwater infrastructure. This property is located on the southeast corner of Madison Street and Jet Way. It does fall in the highway sub-district of the corridor. This is a view looking into the site with Madison Street in the foreground there. So this, in between the liquor store and the site is here. This is gonna become Jet Way, recently platted right-of-way, so that will become a small portion of a city street anyway. I know I received some questions, where is Jet Way? It's recently finalized and platted, so Google's probably not picked up on it yet. We will just go around the site. If you recall, to the rear, some apartments were approved within the past year and a half. No ground has started moving there yet, I don't think, but this area has come before the board in the not so recent past. So this is straight down and then looking into the site plan and landscape plan. A few things to point out here. There will be no direct access to Madison Street. They will have one access point off of Jet Way. The other thing, the guidelines call for surface parking to be to the side or the rear of the building. We'll point out in talking with the engineers, we've talking with Christian Brothers Automotive for 3 or 4 months now in preparation for submittal. They did everything they could to accommodate that. There is a detention area in the rear that if they did accommodate that, they would have to put that in the front, and they just felt that to be unsightly. So they do have one row of parking off of Madison that can be seen from Madison, and one row from Jet Way. I say can be seen. They are scrubbed, hidden very well with shrubs. Each of them are. So also point out they will have to work with the street department and TDOT for the location of the sidewalks off of Madison Street. Here are the elevations for the building. The top elevation is labeled as the front elevation. It will be how the building is seen from Jet Way. It is mostly an all brick structure. The top brick is a burgundy with a glacier white brick in the middle, and then it has a natural limestone base. The bottom right elevation is how it will be viewed from Madison Street, and it will have some signage right in this area as well. And then a 3D rendering of the building that was just described. Staff comments: this application does appear to meet the intent of the guidelines as far as massing materials and color. And as I mentioned, surface parking shall be located to the side or rear of buildings and screened from streets and sidewalks, with the exception of the Richview Road sub-district. And I will answer any questions of the staff if there are any. And if not, I know we have Paula from Christian Brothers Automotive from Houston here, so.
Okay.
Brent, can you go back to the aerial for a moment? You got the, that's good enough. So you got the main drive jetway, and then you have that small driveway to the south. That's gonna get closed up with this application?
Yes,
Okay,
that's correct.
couldn't quite tell with the scale of that with the site plan.
Yes.
Okay.
Are there
Yep,
any
good.
street department requirements for a cul-de-sac for turning around or anything?
I'll answer that question. So, Jetway was brought in a couple months ago to the planning commission. They asked for a waiver from that. The only two sites that access Jetway would be this automotive center, the gas station, which already has a driveway out, and then there's an apartment complex in the back, which will have a gated entry with a turnaround, maybe not a traditional cul-de-sac,
Sure.
but a way to turn around back there. So they felt that just because of the three uses there, not it being a full public right-of-way. And for full disclosure, I think the planning commission recommended against taking that on as a public street because it really didn't serve the needs out there, but the ultimate decision was to turn that over to a public street. And it does meet all the requirements, sans the sidewalk, which will be installed when this goes through site review. Brent, correct, this has not been submitted for site review yet, just for design review.
It has, but it's
Okay.
a staff level site review,
Okay.
so the planning commission will not see it.
And it's going out for comments now
Right.
from the departments. Okay.
Okay. Any questions, board members? Okay. If you'd like to speak, give us your name and address.
This goes. I'll just. I'll have to.
Tippy toes.
Tippy toes. There you
Just
go. I didn't wear my
speak
heels today. Paula Tolliver, address 17725 Katy Freeway, Houston, Texas 77094. So Brent did a very good job at describing the details of our building. Just a high-level overview of Christian Brothers. We've been in business for over 40 years, and we've been operating. We have over 270 locations across 33 states. I think we have 13 here in Tennessee. Notably, we've never closed a location, which I think that's a true testament of how committed we are to providing quality service. At Christian Brothers Automotive, we do offer a range of comprehensive services that are typically associated with your post-warranty work. Our skilled technicians are proficient in your diagnostics, your oil changes, brake maintenance, electrical issues, anything that's considered post-warranty work. We do not focus on or offer any services that is your auto body repair, your auto body painting, or tire capping, which, as you all know, are those services that are on the louder noise levels. Our aspects really hone in on providing the mechanical issues, which are on the quieter nature of operations, which allows us to peacefully coexist with our neighbors. We do offer a shuttle service, and that allows our customers to continue with their daily routines, like go back to work or go back home in case their repairs are going to take longer than the usual hour wait time. By providing the transportation alternatives, it does allow, it minimizes the inconvenience as well as long waiting periods. As you saw in the renderings, we have purposely designed our facility to deviate from your typical auto repair facility. Our building is built with bricks and stones with the bays attached, ensuring a cohesive and integrated architectural design, so we are able to seamlessly blend in with the community. So if you all have any questions about
got
Christian
one.
Brothers or our services.
Go ahead.
Thank you. You said there were 13, you have 13 here in Tennessee. Would this be the first one in Clarksville?
It will be. I think the closest one to Clarksville is Hendersonville.
Okay, because I had never heard of it.
Any other questions?
And will it be user-friendly?
Yes,
Okay, okay. You know what I mean, right?
yes,
Okay.
as a woman.
All right. Thank you. And will the prices be right? I'm joking. I'm joking. But thank you for that good information.
Okay. All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Is there anyone who'd like to speak opposing this? Okay,
I have one question.
all right.
Do you want me to go up there?
Yes, sir.
I know know this lot fronts on, I'm John Compery, architect, 727 Wiley Brown Road, 37043. I know this lot fronts on Madison Street. Shouldn't the actual front of the building look like it fronts on Madison Street and not Jetway, which is a brand-new roadway? So, not sure about the orientation of the front of the building, the main entrance. So that's the question I have.
Okay,
Who wanna answer?
who wants to answer that? Mr. Tindall?
I think she can rebut it.
Okay,
And we can talk
So
about
with this layout, with the plat that was recently recorded, there is setbacks, which if we were to rotate the building where the bays and the office is fronting Madison Street, it will limit the parking, and our building would be encroaching in those building setbacks.
I will add, when I first saw this last week, to Mr. Compery's credit, when I saw the elevation, you know, and I understand what the applicant's saying is that if they turn the building, they're not gonna be able to fit the bays in the setbacks, and I get that. I think it's the open gabled end of the roof line, which tends to make it look much more like a side of a building versus a front of a building. And I think if something were to do something with that, where the office spot is located there, adjacent to the bays, to make that look more like a front of a building instead of a side of a building, I think that would accomplish what was brought to our attention. I don't think that's too terribly difficult. I think you're talking
No, I
about it,
think- and
because that's
we're
only a
able-
one-story building anyway.
Yeah, and we're able to accommodate that, so it is more appeasing. We definitely understand, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name, John's concern, and so, I can get with my architect to see how we can make that more visually appealing, so it doesn't look like it's the side.
okay.
Any board members have anything to
Any
add?
other-
So you think you can accommodate that? Okay.
I would just make that a condition of their approval then.
Yeah.
Okay. Wanda?
Thank you. When do you plan to have this established, this building established or built?
So it all depends on our approvals for our permits. It takes us 6 months to construct, so usually as soon as we get our permits, we will construct, depending on winter conditions. If it's in the middle of winter, we do wait till the spring just to avoid the extra cost.
Good deal.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve,
Second.
with the exception of making the front to the appearance of a front rather than a side, in order to maybe move the front office maybe towards the front of the building to give it that front look appearance.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second.
Second, I said.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved. Okay,
And that is it. One last thing before we adjourn, and I can pass these out while we're adjourning. I was given this by the office manager due to payroll software updates. I need these forms filled out by the Common Design Review Board, please. And it's just an employee record update, so if you could fill it out, scan it back to me, or drop it by here, that'd be great.
okay, all right. Would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Hold on.
Oh,
Open
no.
public comment period,
Public comment?
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
if there are any.
If there are, yeah.
Okay. Back to the motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
That's tough to see.
Thank
And second.
Is this something different?
Yeah, she second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, we really get out of here. Till it's not, right?